Hey, my name is Chris Craddock, and I have helped thousands of people build wealth through buying and selling real estate. And today I'm going to talk about how you find the right real estate agent for you. So with that said, how do you find the right real estate agent? Well, in most states, you go to school longer to cut hair than you do to help to get a real estate license and help people buy and sell their most valuable asset, the asset that will absolutely either hurt, hinder, or help the trajectory of your financial future. And so when you look at that, it is a very, very, very low bar to get a real estate license. So what that means is that we just have to figure out who is qualified to sell our house. Well, the tough thing is a lot of times people are good at pretending to be something they're not. Every single real estate agent is the number one real estate agent. Actually, I remember hearing that one time. A friend of mine said, "Oh my gosh, I'm talking to the number one real estate agent in the whole region." And it turned out the guy had sold 3 houses. And I'm like, well, I guess he's probably the number one real estate agent in the region of his house. Or anyway, it depends on how big that region is. But with that said, everybody makes all these claims. What is true, right? Because, if you're going to have a heart surgery, are you going to trust somebody that never does any heart surgeries, 3 heart surgeries a year? That's not the person I want operating on me. I want somebody that's doing it regularly, knows their stuff, and is an expert at their craft and expert in their field, right? And so that's what we're looking for when we're dealing with finding the right real estate agent who is an expert in their craft. Well, so the things that we need to actually be thinking about is, 1, how many deals are they doing? Are they regularly practicing the craft of real estate, right? And you don't want them practicing on you. That is not something you want happening. Just say, hey, let me give it a shot. Let's go. We'll call this tried. This is your biggest asset. You've got to have someone who's an expert. Number 1. Number 2, are you having somebody that is legitimately training every single day, right? Because one of the things that I teach to the agents that I'm training is that your life and your business will grow to the extent that you grow, right? So if you think about a football team, they just show up on Sunday afternoons and that is the extent of what they're doing, of how they play. You're going to look like my team here in Washington. You're not going to have great results, right? But if you see somebody that is working all week long, working on being a better buyer agent, being a better listing agent, working on their marketing, working on their negotiating skills, working on finding alt-market deals, working on sourcing properties for people with their buyers, or finding buyers that may not be just looking on the MLS or listing agents, then you're finding people that decided to be excellent in their craft. And you all know, whatever line of work you're in, you know that there's the people that are terrible, right? Everybody knows there's a couple people that just don't belong where they are, right? Then you see the average, which is the majority of people. And then you see that 1 or 2% people that they just go the extra mile. They do their job a little bit more. And this is one of the things I said to a lot of my friends. I'm like, if you go to a restaurant and you see the waiter that's walking just a little bit faster than everybody else, the bartender that's walking just a little bit faster, they're moving with purpose because they know they need to get stuff done, right? And you tend to see better service with the ones that come, they're there, they're fully present with you at the table, and then when they're walking, they're walking past all the average people, the slower people, because they want to get it done. They do their job and a little bit more. And so that's really what you're looking for when you're hiring somebody. It is like a job interview when you're hiring somebody. Second thing is, now the joke I make, I already talked about practice, but with that said, most real estate agents practice on the people that pay them, right? That is the biggest problem that you see with real estate agents, is they are not negotiating. So you should ask the agent, hey, do you role play negotiations? And if so, tell me about the last role play that you've done, because people say, yeah, sure, I do. And, it seems this is one of the things that I just find super frustrating, is it seems culturally acceptable to lie, right? And it's just the way that people do it. Well, maybe they're not lying when they say, what is role play? Maybe I did this one time, but here's a role play. Is you say, hey, let's practice this scenario. I have one person that has offered me an offer on my listing, and I need to work to get that price up for my seller. How can I role play this scenario with somebody else so that I'm practicing in real time, so that this other person can say, hey, you're super compelling when you say this, and you're not compelling when you say this. And it's a way that we can make sure that we're getting more money for our clients, right? Most agents don't role play. They don't do that. Or if you're working as a buyer's agent and you call a listing agent or you call a seller and you're working to get them a property that's off market, are you role playing? Are you practicing that situation so that when you do it, man, you've been there 1,000 times. Think Tom Brady on the football field, right? He has been there so many times over and over and over again. He's practiced, and then he's practiced on the game field. And then he can show up and just say, hey, look, I've done this 1,000 times. I know that I'm going to show up with excellence when I'm there. That's what you're wanting of the real estate agent. You don't want somebody that is just trying to figure it out and then doesn't practice off the field, doesn't have the reps on the field, and then they show up for you and then they may fumble the ball. And you just not want that. Next, ask them, do they have a strategy for negotiating, right? So if you are a listing agent, right, here's a couple of just key pointers. If you're a listing agent, you want the other side to just submit everything in writing. You say, oh, that sounds great. Submit it in writing. Sounds great. Submit it in writing. You do not want to verbally negotiate anything. If you are a buyer's agent, you want to verbally negotiate with a listing agent so they'll give you information about their listing, right? Because a listing agent knows that once you submitted the offer, that you are emotionally invested in that process. I overheard a person selling insurance a while back, and they said they want you to go through a 45-minute insurance process, because once you're done, you just don't want to go through that with 5 or 6 other people when you shop around, right? So they get all your information, they give you the quote, they can bind you right there with the insurance. They don't want you to do that. Well, the same thing is true because you're already invested, right? We just say, well, I'm already invested here. The same thing is true with a listing agent. You want that buyer to submit the offer once they've dreamed about living there, once they've written that earnest money deposit, which is required with any offer when you submit an offer. Once they've spent the time to sign and fill out all the information, get their pre-approval, everything they had to do, once they do that, they are going to say, well, it's going to cost me another $10,000 to get this property. Well, heck, $10,000 with a traditional loan over 30 years. I mean, what does that mean? I just need to not go to Starbucks twice this month and I'll break even. I get the house of my dreams. Yeah, let's do it, right? So when you understand what makes people tick, then you can be a better agent on that front. Or negotiating from the buyer's side, right? On the buyer's side, are the buyer's agents practicing talking to the listing agent and getting them to talk, getting them to say, what is important to the seller? Why are they moving? Do they need a rent back? What could I do that maybe is not worth more money to my client, but is worth a lot to the seller, right? Do we get the lender to call and make sure the lender makes sure that they know that it is a solid bet that this person will be at the closing table? That's one of the big things. I mean, heck, our team over and over again, every year, we get many, many, many offers selected that are 5, 10. I mean, heck, we even have one that's $15,000 lower than the next highest offer, that they took our offer because they felt like we were solid. We were going to be at the closing table. They had to have their money by a certain time period, and we were able to write up a offer with very few contingencies because we had practiced this over and over and over again. And a contingency just allows a buyer to get out with all their money. And so we practiced this and said, okay, we worked with the lender. We've done a walkthrough. Sometimes we even get a home inspector in before we write the offer so that we can write an offer with no contingencies. And the seller knows we will absolutely be at that closing table. And they'll say, hey, that's worth $15,000 for me. So when you're able to do stuff like that, you know you are dealing with a real professional. And so anyway, that is that is the big difference between most agents. Is most agents are not working hard in the off season. They're not working hard, but they're not actually in real time. And so with that said, you've got to find an agent that absolutely chooses to be a professional, treats it like a professional, practices on the field and off the field, works hard to get lots of reps. And I know I love my sports analogies, loves to get a lot of reps, right? Always working. Not somebody that just does a couple houses a year, and you could look them up and see whether they do many houses or not. But then lastly, somebody that understands our process in negotiating and marketing and all the other tools that are super necessary in order to get the best deal for your most valuable asset. Hit like, subscribe, comment. We'd love to hear what you have to say. And also, if there's anything that you would like us to discuss, post it in the comments, and I would love to interact with you there. Till next time, go kill it. Boom.